Right. All right, participants are coming in. All right. All right, well, welcome as participants add into our Zoom room here, our webinar. Welcome, welcome. We'll always give it a minute or two for everybody to arrive. Great. Welcome as people continue to arrive. We'll give it another minute or so for everybody to join us. Thank you for joining us today. Keep coming in. All right. Give it another moment. Welcome as people arrive. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to our webinar here for Skidmore College. Happy Wednesday. All right. Well, great. Well, we will get started here. Good evening, good afternoon, or good day, wherever this webinar might be finding you. And we are glad you have joined us. My name is Darren Drabeck. I'm one of our associate directors of admissions here at Skidmore College. I'm also our coordinator of international student recruitment. And welcome. We're glad you are here and can join us for some information about Skidmore College. I'm joined by a couple of wonderful students who will get to introduce themselves here in a moment. And then we will share with you what we feel makes Skidmore distinctive. We're happy to talk about the breadth in our academic curriculum, our interdisciplinary approach to learning here at Skidmore College. We'll talk about the residential and campus life experiences here at Skidmore and also share more about our location around Saratoga Springs and the upstate New York capital region of New York. But thanks for joining us. We can use the Q&A function for people to present questions, ask questions, and then we usually answer most of them live, but we can also type them. But we sometimes, depending on who gets to the question first, we're happy to answer those for you. So you can add those in as you're listening, and we'll continue through in that format. So thanks again for joining us. Melanie, you want to start? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do here at Skidmore, and we'll kind of go from there.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Melanie. I'm a senior here at Skidmore from Long Island, New York. I study psychology and social work as a double major. But during my time here, I've worked for admissions for about 3 years now, and I'm coming up on about 2 years as a head guide at admissions. Outside of admissions, academically speaking, I have done a lot of research during my time at Skidmore. I've dabbled in the psychology department. I did 2 different labs there. I've also currently on a project in the social work department with my advisor, and I got my start actually with research in the religious studies department, which is not an area in which I study. So I'm happy to talk about that or answer questions about that in the chat. Additionally, I spent a semester abroad in Copenhagen, Denmark last year in the spring, so my junior year spring semester, and I'm happy to talk about that as well. This year, I am applying for graduate programs in school counseling and social work, and I am co-president of Skidmore's chapter of Psi Chi, which is an international honor society for psychology. So if you have any questions pertaining to that or not pertaining to that, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much. And Addie, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us more about what you do at Skidmore.
Hi guys, my name's Addie, and this wonderful cat is Bella behind me. I hope she's not too distracting. She's comfy up there. I use they, she pronouns, and I'm also a senior with Melanie. I'm a double major in psychology and philosophy, and I'm one of the head science guides at admissions. So if you have any questions in the STEM field, I'll be able to answer those, even though I don't necessarily study all of those departments. Um, Outside of admissions, I'm a writing center tutor. I've been a TA for a few different psychology classes, as well as a peer mentor, which is kind of like a TA, but it's specifically for first year students. We'll explain what that means a little bit later. I've been involved in the music department, just different performance groups for fun as a hobby. Um, and I studied abroad in Copenhagen with Melanie as well. And I go rock climbing with the Outing Club.
Excellent. Thank you both. And that gives us people a lot of things to ask about and some topics to bring up as we continue, kind of treat this like a talk show style a little bit. I'll pepper them with questions. You can put in your questions in the chat in the Q&A as well. Well, just for starters and a beautiful general introduction to Skidmore College, we are an all undergraduate learning community of about 2,700 students. We're a diverse learning community. Students come to Skidmore from all over the world and all over the United States. Typically, students are coming to Skidmore from over 40 states around the United States and with citizenship from about 60 countries around the world. And the breadth in our curriculum, even showcased by a couple of our students who are here. You hear their majors, their minors, the programs they've pursued. The breadth is deep at Skidmore, and we are right off the bat a bit distinctive as a liberal arts and sciences college, a smaller college that offer both Bachelor of Arts degrees and Bachelor of Science degrees. In fact, the expanse of our majors is a list almost as large as you would typically find it at larger universities or certainly schools much larger than our student body of 2,700 students. Melanie's major, social work major, is one of the Bachelor of Science degree programs here at the college. We also have an education studies major, which will certify students to teach at the end of 4 years. We also offer a major called Health and Human Physiological Sciences. It's called Exercise Science or Kinesiology at some other typically larger universities where you'll find that major as well. But here we offer it here at the college. We also offer one of our most popular majors is our management and business major, and that too leads to the Bachelor of Science degree. And then the three other Bachelor of Science degree programs are always great to introduce, are in the arts. Our studio art major, our dance major, and our theater majors all lead to a Bachelor of Science degree, which are, we like to say, conservatory-esque. They do not lead to a Bachelor of Fine Arts. We're not an art school, but they are very deep in their field of studies, and students get a conservatory type experience, but still pursue the broad liberal arts and sciences here at the college. Um, I always love our students to kind of continue to introduce themselves and share a little bit about what your path was to your major, your majors. It's a new story. Every student you meet will have a different story and experience. But Melanie, do you want to start and share a little bit about how you ended up here with the social work major and psychology program too?
Yeah, absolutely. I was drawn to Skidmore because of the majors that I
Mhm.
wanted to pursue. So I always had an interest in psychology. I took AP psychology in high school, thought it was really interesting, but I was also able to take a dual enrollment class through a local community college that was an intro to social work class. And I thought that also aligned pretty well with what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure. So I wanted to make sure that I left both doors open for myself and finding a small liberal arts college that's not too far away from home, that has good financial aid, that also has both of the majors that I want became very challenging. And Skidmore had every box that I wanted ticked without
Mhm.
adding extraneous things. That's how I like to describe it. And so my path to my majors was very straightforward. I actually, stuck with my major, which I think, not everyone does. But I've stuck with it and I've seen a lot of value in what having a social work major at Skidmore can do for me. I have, it's accredited by the Council on Social Work Education. So I basically, in the 4 years that I'm here, complete the first year of master's level study,
Mhm.
which means that at any other CSWE accredited social work master's program, I would have advanced standing, which means that I get to bypass that first year due to my experience in undergrad with my bachelor's in social work and just do 1 year to complete the master's degree. So I've been applying for master's in social work, and it's been a really great program here at Skidmore, as well as the psychology department. But Addie has more
Mhm.
experience within the
Yeah.
psychology department than even I do. So
Yeah.
I'll pause there.
Yeah, and that is, it's also a great story. Some students, your college search is guided by a major, perhaps a passion, something you want to pursue. And at Skidmore, you don't apply to a major. When you apply to Skidmore, filling out for those juniors in the audience, when you fill out the common application next year, we'll ask you your academic interests, but we won't be making admission decisions based on the major, the academic interest you list. And you don't have to stick with that. And in fact, many students will arrive with a few areas of curiosity and interest, take the introductory courses in one or two, and maybe keep following and maybe do a double major, but they might spin one off and end up with a major and a minor or find something brand new that they wish to pursue. So that's a great experience where students have, or been drawn to Skidmore because yes, that list becomes quite narrow when you start cross-referencing different things that you want in a university. So, Addie, tell us about your path that you made, and tell us, as you tell us about your path to major, glow about the department. We always love hearing more about that experience there.
Yeah, of course. I also realized I completely forgot to mention I do research in the psychology department
Hmm.
too.
Yep.
Melanie, you probably
Yep.
realized I forgot that.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been doing that for multiple years, and I'm the lab manager for the lab I'm a part of this semester, and I'm doing a senior thesis as well in the psych department. So very involved in the psych department.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, for how I got involved in that major, I came into college knowing that I wanted to do something within mental health, but I wasn't sure exactly what within that. And so over the course of my first year at Skidmore, I took an intro to bio class to see if I wanted to do like psychiatry. I took an intro to psychology class, and I took an intro to social work class. So I kind of dabbled in all the pathways that would lead me towards a career in mental health. Um, and psychology was kind of just where I fit. One thing that we talked about in the intro class in our textbook was the line, "Have you ever questioned whether the same colors you see are the same as everyone else's colors?" And that's something I've thought about my entire life. And so I was like, yes, this is what I want to study right here. Um, and then for philosophy, a much more roundabout way to get to that major. My second semester of my first year, I took an intro to philosophy class for fun. It fulfilled one of the all college requirements, and my dad liked his philosophy classes, so I figured this would be a fun bonding experience. And it was an 8 a.m. class. Most people don't really want to be in an 8 a.m. class. And so the atmosphere of the classroom was a little bit more dull compared to some of the other classes, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I came to class so incredibly prepared. I argued with the professor every day in a way you're supposed to in a philosophy class. I was very polite. And by the end of the semester, I decided that I should maybe consider minoring in this because like I really liked it. And then the professor of the course, who was the chair of the philosophy department at the time, sent me an email at the end of the semester and was just like, "Hey, I know you're thinking about doing psychology, and you can, like, don't get me wrong, but you could also double major. Like, it's clear you enjoyed this, you did really well in it." So I looked into it, realized that I could totally do both and still graduate on time, and now he's my advisor. And this semester, I'm taking two of his classes, so I feel like I'm like coming full circle, going back to seeing him basically every day. So I've really enjoyed both of them.
Hmm. And that, answers even a question we get asked a lot. Can I double major? How easy is it to double major? And it's easy. It's doable. You don't have to stay an extra semester, an extra year to finish with two majors. Students at Skidmore can have up to two majors and up to three minors. Some students will graduate with a double major and triple minor. Not many, but it's possible. And even in 4 years, and even have a chance to study abroad and have those experiences as well. Um, we really pride ourselves in a community, and you will hear this from students and with many academic interests. This is a community that promotes the opportunity to do both, to not have to give up one passion in exchange for another. And you will hear that in examples of students when they tell you what their double major is or a major and a minor. They may be on the surface, very disconnected. A double major in dance and neuroscience, a student who double majors in music and physics. But very quickly too, you might realize no, those are quite well, those are connected. But the point being that you don't have to give up a passion of one area or a curiosity in one to satisfy and have another as well. And that's very exciting for us. We also have some great interdisciplinary majors that we offer, international affairs, the gender studies major, minors as well that are very interdisciplinary, such as Black studies, intergroup relations. We have a great Asian studies program as well, and those pull courses from a variety of classes that all focus on that theme and give you this interdisciplinary experience. Um, we do have a core curriculum at Skidmore, and I know Addie introduced that as a class, one of the classes you took to satisfy that core requirement, and that's a common story of students finding more curiosity in areas that they might want to study, and can take a course that satisfies a core requirement. It's not a it's a very flexible core curriculum. Melanie's typing maybe, or Addie, yeah, Addie. You want to share, Melanie, you keep typing. Addie, do you want to share a little bit more about our core curriculum and our breadth requirements a little bit broader? And if you want to give other examples of classes you took for these different areas, if you recall, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to like go through each of them
Yeah,
too?
yeah, yeah. Let's run
Okay.
through those. Yep.
Great. So for the all college requirements, I like to think of them more as like category requirements than class requirements because there's never one specific class you have to take to fulfill it. Instead, it's helping you to be a little bit more well-rounded, but you get to pick whatever class fits your interests the best within that category.
Mhm.
So the first one that you're going to tick off is something called the Scribner Seminar. Should I dive into this too? Okay, cool.
Yes. Yeah.
That is our version of a first semester transition into college class. So you have a list of around 40 different options. You get to rank your top 10, and you're typically placed in one of your top three. They're very uh, interdisciplinary classes, very odd in what their topics cover. It's not going to sound like a typical class when you read the course description. One of the other counselors describes them as passion projects for these professors because they get to design the course curriculum themselves. Sometimes it's not something that they would traditionally teach, but that they do a lot of research in and things like that. And that's actually where I met Melanie. Me and Melanie were in the same Scribner seminar. It was called Mapping the Social World, and it was taught by a sociology professor. But throughout the course, we read a book about cholera and learned about how mapping the spread of it helped to figure out how to prevent it. So, more historical, more medical, not really sociology like you would expect it to be. And for our final project, we actually got to work together and we made our own map. So, me and Melanie explored all of downtown and mapped all the painted horses. So a lot of like independent choice within those projects so you can explore the topic in a way that works for you. Um, Also within that, there's a lot of support systems. So your professor for that class is going to be your advisor until you declare your major, which you don't have to do until the end of your sophomore year. And then you also have a peer mentor in that class. That's an upperclassman student that's been picked by the professor who takes the class alongside you, and they teach you college survival skills. Um, so that's the first requirement.
Hmm.
After that, a little bit more open. So we have a scientific inquiry, artistic inquiry, and humanistic inquiry. Anything within those categories is going to fulfill that requirement. Usually, you're going to tick those off just by exploring what you want your major to be. And then we also have a writing requirement in English class. There's two levels of it, but you can get out of the lower one if you want to. I think there's a few different ways to do that. And then we also have a math requirement. It's called the applied quantitative reasoning. Also two levels for that, but you can test out of the lower level if you want to.
Hmm.
And then we have the bridge experience, which has to do with race and power within the United States. The one that I took for that was called Power, Privilege, and Oppression through the social work department.
Hmm.
Um, and then what else am I missing? Bridge experience,
World
global cultural
language.
requirement. Um, I don't know if I remember what I took for that. Possibly something while I was studying abroad.
I took a
Um,
religious studies class for that one.
that would do
Hmm.
it. Um, and then one semester of a world language. You can
Mhm.
also do that while you're studying abroad. That's what I
Mhm.
did. I learned Danish while I was in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm missing one besides the senior class. What am I missing?
You got the natural science?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Expository writing.
Expository writing?
Got that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't count on my fingers the Scribner seminar.
The
That's what
Scribner
happened.
Summit. There you go.
I was gonna say.
And then the
Yeah.
last class is just your senior
Right.
capstone class. It'll be different for every department what that looks like. Usually you'll have like the option to do a thesis, but you're not required to.
Mhm.
And yes, you have to do a class option of that for all of your majors.
Right.
So you have to do two if you're double majoring.
Right. Right. There you go. Great rundown on that. That was fantastic. Melanie, anything to add in terms of a class? Maybe think of another example of just kind of an interesting class you took for one of your requirements that kind of sticks in your mind.
I mean, for me, I took one of the Intro to Religious Studies classes to fulfill two of the requirements. I did the
Hmm.
humanistic inquiry and the global cultural uh, perspectives requirement with this one religious studies class, and it centered around new religious movements,
Hmm.
otherwise known as cults.
Hmm.
And um, it was really interesting. I was pushed into several different religious groups. I had a project that was to pick a religion you don't know much about, and go find it locally in the
Hmm.
community and attend one of their meetings and be fully immersed and ask them questions and really like engage. So I went to there's about like 50-ish minutes from Skidmore's campus. There's this um, Japanese Buddhist peace pagoda.
Hmm.
It's one of a few of them in the United States, and I think there's like 25 of them around the world.
Hmm.
Um, and it's really, really cool. I did not understand what they were saying during their ceremony, but it was their 30th anniversary when I went. So they did their regular ceremony and then they shot confetti off of the top of the Peace Pagoda. It was outside. They have beautiful ceremony grounds. They did a potluck afterwards, and then there's
Hmm.
torrential downpour. So I got absolutely drenched, but it was totally worth it. It was a really cool experience. And I'm really grateful to that class for that experience. So I think that was really cool. And then the other part that of that class that I'm very grateful for is that I was introduced to research through that class. My professor introduced their research towards the end of the semester, and I thought it was really cool, and it totally opened my mind to what else research could be aside from being in a laboratory setting. And I
Hmm.
asked my professor if I could, take some of that work home with me. It was a transcription project, reading firsthand documents from the Jonestown group. And I fell in love with the project. And then they hired me as their research assistant because they could use the help. And I was very much willing and excited to do that. And then that pushed me to start seeking research within the departments that I do study. So that's
Hmm.
my only class in the religious studies department, but by far the coolest class I've taken at Skidmore.
And a great example of, you don't have to be, you can do research outside of your major. You can do research after, you can be introduced to research as quickly as while you're taking the introductory course, whatever that department course may be, the kind of the gateway course in that department. And then after that, you're typically qualified to begin taking research classes. And our students can do that as early as the second semester of their first year. You can add a 1 credit research class to your schedule, and then the next semester add another one. And later on, maybe it's a full 4 credit class worth of research or more. Students can be paid for their research on campus. It can be a campus job, assisting faculty in that way. And so, really a benefit. And of course, it's not unique to Skidmore, but it's certainly something that is is important to us in our community that as an all undergraduate learning community, all of the resources, all of the facilities, the top of the line electron microscopes in the biology department, bigger than some that are at colleges and universities, much larger than us. Some great resources. Faculty are taking their students to conferences to present to their research. Addie, I was going to ask you a little bit to describe. You said you're head of a lab of one of the labs, and so you're kind of the leading student. What is that role like in your senior year, and what has that meant went? What opportunities have you had with faculty because of that role and because of your continued research that you've done while you've been here?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And tell us about the research too, because that's always fascinating every time we students can share that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the lab I'm a part of is the TREAT lab. It's the clinical psychology research lab on campus.
Mhm.
And basically, what we do is we test different types of interventions that can help anxiety and depression and figure out how we can deliver them in more accessible ways. Um, so the main study that we've been working on for the past like 2 years that I've been in the lab, we're looking at this intervention called savoring, which is fully experiencing your positive emotions, not like running away from them, but really embracing them when you experience them, and delivering that through a smartphone app. Um, so, with my role as lab manager, honestly, the main differences in like being a research assistant versus a lab manager are like administrative things. So now in my new role, I'm the one who's answering the lab email and like scheduling participants, making sure that they line up with when a research assistant can run them through the experiment. I'm working a little bit more closely with the professor who's in charge of our lab, making
Mhm.
sure that uh, we're doing things at the right time frame and so that we're getting all of the participants run appropriately timed so that we all like fulfill the hours that we need to work in the lab for the week. I make sure the consent forms are printed out, things like that, like relatively mundane things that are different for being a lab manager versus a research assistant. Um, Probably the biggest helpful thing for like my future by being a research assistant is actually getting contact with these participants. One of the things that we talk about almost every week in the lab is how interesting and beneficial it is to be in the lab room with the participant, teaching them about savoring, running them through a savoring practice. So we're providing psychoeducation for these people, and we're kind of administering an intervention to them. Um, so that's been really interesting to see how people react in different ways and how we can integrate their feedback into improving the app later on and things like that. Um, and since I was in the lab since sophomore year, I was able to do the student faculty summer research program, also doing this research. And me and the other student involved in that are actually going to a conference to present our findings in April. So we get to go to Chicago and present
Right.
our findings in a poster
Yep.
presentation. Um, and then I'm also doing my senior thesis with that same professor. So I think kind of building that bond with him early on as the sophomore. I was also his peer mentor. That was the person that I was, the professor that I was paired with for that. So I've gotten to know him really well. And so he's been able to kind of see my dedication and where my interests lies and things like that to be able to um, show that he can support me through a senior thesis
Mhm.
and took that on. So we're working on that together this semester as well. And we're also going to be submitting that to a different conference at the end of the week. It's due. So I just finished
Mhm.
writing the abstract for that. Um, so each lab is going to be a little bit different in terms of like your role. Like obviously not everyone is going to have human participants like I do in a clinical lab. But it's very much getting close contact with your professor, being able to have a collaborative work environment where you're able to offer your input and integrate your feedback into whatever you're working on. And you get recognized for your work. My name is on that poster, so that's really
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah. It is, it's fascinating. And I'll speak a little bit from experience. Right now, I'm a human participant in a study in the Health and Human Physiological Sciences Department. I was there yesterday for a test run. I will go back again tomorrow, for another one. The students that are participating and with the faculty, they're taking the measurements. They're drawing blood. They're taking blood pressure. They're doing, all these kind of medical experiences that students get to that are part of this experience and really are I'm looking watching them as they're doing this and I said, is this a faculty member or is this a student? And I mean, you guys get such incredible experience and I know when our students go to conferences, and you've come back and told me this, that students go to conferences and they'll tell a story that you were mistaken taken for a graduate student by somebody else at another university, and thought that you were, and you say, no, I'm an undergraduate student right now. But those are also places where our students are making connections with graduate school faculty and others and getting that experience. So on most departmental web pages, you will find some great examples of the research that our faculty are doing. Maddie, I'm glad you mentioned the summer research experience. Every summer, we have 100, 150 students on campus in Saratoga Springs conducting research, living on campus. It's funded housing, funded dining and food on campus. You get a stipend usually for it as well, so it's like a summer job, and that's incredible experience. And some students have done that 2 or 3 times during their Skidmore career. Um, I'd love to go to a question that came in the chat. Would both of you get your perspective on what type of student you believe thrives at Skidmore? Maybe Melanie, do you want to start to introduce that? And Addie, if you have more to add as well to share what you think.
Yeah, it's hard to define like the typical Skidmore student, but I think that we all have some things in common in terms of like this desire to engage in different things, but to be very heavily engaged and excited about learning. So there's this desire to learn, there's this curiosity, right? Like poking your head into several different areas, regardless of what you plan to major in or minor in. It's like, well, what if I just took a ceramics class because that sounds cool? Or what if I took that intro to geoscience class because I've always wanted to try it? That very much feels like the environment like of our academic culture. And then in terms of like socially speaking, I think our students are typically pretty friendly. We have like an open door policy with all of our clubs. We have about 100 different clubs on our campus. You don't have to like apply or audition to most of them. For our audition-based clubs, our Student Government Association has a clause in our bylaws that requires that there's one group that is not audition. So if we have 6 a cappella clubs, one of them is open access, non-audition. Same with our dance groups. So anything like that, make sure that every student has the opportunity to engage in things that are exciting to them. So that's how I see it.
Mhm. And then I'll let you continue. I was gonna, but what you said, Melanie, reminds me a little bit about again the strength of the breadth of our curriculum here. Is that students are drawn to Skidmore because of that breadth, and it gives you some great opportunities. We're one of the few small colleges that offers a business major, and maybe you just want to take one business class, just see what that's like. You never know that as a studio art major, you may become a professional artist, and it's not bad to know some business skills because you might need to sell your artwork and market yourself. But it gives you a chance. The breadth of our curriculum allows students to really really explore, and a student who wants to explore can really thrive. That's not to say a student who is laser focused in one major. And then the few class, you're all going to take classes outside of your major, no matter what. You can't kind of fight that. But if you just want a single major and that's really your focus, that's fantastic too. And so, as Melanie said too, there's not one student that thrives here, but in those two opportunities. Addie, anything else to add that you would say?
I agree with you both. Curiosity, passion, and kindness are like the three values you gotta hit and you'll fit right in. Um, I think like me and Melanie are good friends outside of this as well, and I think that like we're interested in very different things within the realm of mental health, but hearing her talk about like her placement right now at a local school is so interesting to me because she finds it interesting.
Right.
And she's come to my music events, has literally sat on a radiator for me simply to hear me play French horn. So like you'll find so much support and people who are genuinely passionate and want to be here. So as long as you've got something you're interested in and you want to hear about what other people are interested in, you'll be good.
Yeah. Maybe a natural and beautiful pivot, and even with this next question, to thinking about campus life and student life. And this is it's the campus. It's a vibrant campus life. Every year, 90% of our students are living on campus, and so 90% of students are living very close to each other, which is great for building community and feeling like a real friendly neighborhood here. But we do have some great traditions. Melanie, do you want to share? And Addie, both of some of your favorites, or and a few to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe Addie and I have the same favorite tradition. I could be wrong. We'll see. Um, my favorite is Skidmania. We'll see about Addie's, but it's a music event. It's mostly students who audition, but also some faculty will celebrate music from 50 years ago. So we do it every November. This year it was music from 1975.
Mhm.
I look forward to it every year. It's really fun. It's very lively. We have a lot of, families and local community members coming to Skidmore to support our students and just to enjoy music because it is a very good concert for a very cheap price.
Mhm.
Um, so far, it's the only concert that I've paid for at Skidmore, and it's $5 and it goes to charity. So
Yep.
I love that as well. But you get like immersed in the history of that year of music. And then you also get to celebrate how talented our peers and our faculty are. This year, we also got to hear a surprise Bruce Springsteen medley from the one and only Skidmore College president, Mark C.
Mhm.
Connor. And that was really fun to witness. I absolutely love that event. Even though I'm not musically talented myself, I absolutely go to that event and enjoy it. We have
That
other
is a
events.
that is a fun one. That's what I would have rivaled you. That is my one of my favorites too. I think it showcases Skidmore so well. As Melanie said, it raises money for our own charity called Skidmore Cares, which supports not-for-profits, community-based organizations here in Saratoga Springs, local school districts, other community-based organizations, and it just showcases some outstanding musical talent of our students. There's a class that's taught in the music department that coordinates the concert itself. The students are doing the musicology of that year and presenting that, the politics of that year, the music of that year, the current events of that year. So those that are juniors in the audience, you can maybe look forward to some songs from 1977. That'll be your first year. Any seniors listening here, that next year, and Skidmania 76 will be coming up in November. We'll look forward to that. Addie, give us another tradition that you've enjoyed here on campus.
That is definitely mine. Rude for stealing it. Um, So I'll go with the Big Green Scream.
Mhm.
It's a doubleheader basketball game, back to back men's and women's. And I've gone twice now, and I'm not a super like sports watchy person. I don't have a team that I cheer for or anything like that. But every time I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Mhm.
There's always a super super supportive dad in the audience cheering on like everyone, and that's how I learn the rules of basketball. I don't know them. And then there's always like halftime performance from one of our dance groups. My roommate is in one of them that usually performs, so that's typically what I'm going to support, but I'm also there for the basketball. So there, her hip hop club performs, then we also
Mhm.
have another dance group, Extravagems, which performed last time as well. So that's another fun thing. And there's another sporting event, Pack the Rink, that's ice hockey. So we have got two like really big sporting events, but of course you can always go to any of the home games.
Yeah. No, those are a lot of fun, and Big Green Screen was a good time. Give away free T-shirts. Usually have a raffle for a big screen TV. Good fun stuff like that. And yeah, and I was answering a question to a student earlier that we have 19 men's and women's varsity athletic teams. They are certainly their games and their activities are part of the fabric of our campus life. And some of our teams have been very good. We have won national championships with some of our teams. We are competitive in our conference conference. Our athletic conference for our varsity teams is called the Liberty League, and it's colleges across upstate New York that are highly academic and have a strong commitment to athletics as well. Our facilities are incredible, which are open to all students to use. Our newest building on campus, in fact, is the McCaffrey-Wagman Tennis and Wellness Center that has brand new weight room and cardio fitness rooms, 4 indoor tennis courts, 8 brand new outdoor tennis courts, and it also consolidated our health and wellness services, our amazing counseling center, our health services, our peer health educators, and our wellness programs, all bringing that. We really promote health and wellness here at the college, and that's important to us in a lot of ways. Very quickly, do either of you have any friends who've done Startup Skidmore, that program? I know that yes, you can be of many different majors and participate in it, or the Fryrick Business Plan Challenge. That's another big event on our campus for students who are pitching business ideas, and we see a lot of collaboration between students of different majors. But I didn't know if you guys had any adjacent friends that were in that. That's okay. We'll get students more information about that. Um, let's see. Melanie's typing an answer to that one. That is perfectly fine. Let me jump into admissions a little bit. This question about the requirements, and we'll continue on for there. Got about 20 minutes left, and so want to also talk about our location and Saratoga Springs a lot. But for those who are applying next year, the year after that are here, we will keep in touch with you and share more about admission deadlines and applications. Broadly speaking, we review all of our applications holistically every year that the applications come. So there's not any one part of an application that is making the decision or is the determinant of a decision. The largest weight given to any part of the application really will be the academic experience of the student, the rigor of the academic program, your achievement in that said program. We are reviewing students' experiences across the arc of 4 years of high school, not by one single snapshot of an exam, of a test, of any one semester. So it's really that arc of that experience, again, the rigor of the program, and that's all within the context of your school. So we don't have a requirement that says to be a rigorous applicant, you have to have AP classes or IB classes, but because your school may not offer those, and so depending on the context of your school offerings, maybe it's a national curriculum and it's the same for everybody. We understand that, and so we review that within that context. We are test optional and have been as far as the SAT, ACT goes for about a dozen years, and have no plans to abandon that or return to requiring tests. Again, we feel that we are not judging students by one single moment in time or a snapshot of their experience. Addie alluded to earlier, we're talking about core requirements, and you can actually use an SAT or ACT test score to place into an advanced level of some of our core requirements, the step one or step of our quantitative requirement, for example, our expository writing classes. You can use that SAT or ACT score for that placement. But you can also take placement exams here at Skidmore. So if you enroll and have never taken an SAT or ACT, you can still do everything else that anybody else can do. And every year, about 60% of our students who enroll did not submit an SAT or ACT score at the time of application. They might have submitted it later if they're offered admission. If they enroll, we'll ask you again, did you take the test? You're welcome to send it to us for placement purposes. You're already in, and so you can send it on if you'd like. Um, Typically, students are earning A's and B's in a rigorous high school curriculum, and but again, that's within context, and we look at the rigor of a program, and so a student, it doesn't have to have straight A's, it doesn't have to have the right mix of A's and B's, and a student could even have a C or C's on their transcript and still be competitive. So there's no magic formula that is used to make the determinant, but typically students are high achieving students within their rigorous curriculum. Typically are taking 4 years of the core areas, English classes, social studies classes, laboratory sciences, 3 or 4 years of those in high school, 3 or 4 years of a common language, are what students are seeing. Math classes, typically 3 or 4 years. But again, there's, applications are reviewed holistically, so students can be competitive with any variation of some of that. But that's kind of, generally speaking. Um, the writing sample is the personal statement is very important to us. We read every single one of those in every application, and that is your chance, the longest amount of time to write for us in your application. Tell us about who you are, and that's very important to us. We love to hear your stories. We love to learn more about who you are as a person through an experience you've had or an activity you've done, whatever you've chosen as your topic. There's no right topic. There's no wrong topic. It's your personal statement. It's really, really for you. Um, we also just are excited to engage with you, and you attend events like this. We know that you get to know us, and that's important to us. And then we get to know you in your application when we review that next year. We do offer different plans of admission, early decision, round one and round two, and then regular decision. Those are the three options of dates or of application plans. We don't have early action, but early decision, round one and round two, and then regular decision. And we receive about 12,000 applications every year and offer admission to about a quarter of the students or so who apply. And it varies every year, so it will depend. So I think that's a lot of that great information. Go ahead, Addie. You got one you want to answer live? You want to talk? Let's talk more about, yeah, support systems available to students on
Yeah,
campus, of course.
thanks. That would just be a very long one for me to try and type.
Yes, please. That's
So
perfect.
what kind of support systems are available to students on campus? There are so many. That's why it would take me too long to type. So in terms of academic support, there's kind of two main avenues that you can go through for that, but there's so many more. So the first one that we have is something called PAC, Peer Academic Coaches, and that is available for quite a few departments on campus where there's a team of upperclassmen students that meet at least once a week, depending on the size of the department, they'll happen more often. And that's just like a drop-in study time that you can go and have a body double. You can ask them questions, get advice about what classes you should take since they're upperclassmen in the major. Anything like that works. And then we also have individual tutoring available for any class that it does not have a pack associated with it. So I actually just took on this role. So now I'm a peer tutor for the ASL 1 class because we
Mhm.
don't have a pack for that specific type of language at Skidmore. Um, and then we also have the Writing Center. I'm also a Writing Center
Mhm.
tutor. Again, that's peer support. So it's students that have taken a training class in how to be a writing tutor. But other than that, that's who you're going to. So we cover a really wide array of different majors. It's not all English majors, but everyone needs to learn how to write for their specific major type. So you can kind of pick and choose your tutor according to what assignment you're working on. So those are the main things for academic support. And then for like emotional support, things like that, we have the counseling center on campus. Um, they're super, super helpful. You get 8 free in-person therapy sessions and 8 free online therapy sessions every single year. I've used them quite a lot and I've really found it beneficial. And they also have a lot of connections with local mental health support systems. So if you aren't finding what you're looking for there, or if you need more assistance than what they're able to offer you, they can kind of help you navigate finding your own personal therapist outside of the college. Um, and then we also have PHEs, the peer health educators, which are students that are advocating for a healthier lifestyle. They have different like teams depending on the type of health that they're working to improve on campus. They have a bunch of like free support things. They have therapy dogs all the time. And it's an anonymous peer-to-peer support system, so you can go and talk to them confidentially if you want to.
Mhm.
So those are the main things, but like I said, there's so many things that can you can go to for support. Even just like dropping in your professor's office, they'll
Right.
chat with you and help you out however they can.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful part of attending a residential and smaller college is the access to kind of your neighborhood and everyone all the many times throughout the day. Of course, it's a naturally supportive community due to by virtue of the size of the classes. Our average class size is only 16 students. The student to faculty ratio is only 8 to 1, and so just by virtue of that, not having large lecture classes, having access to the faculty, that is who we are, and by nature of that, students feel supported. I think maybe even thinking about that question a while ago, what kind of student thrives at Skidmore? It's a student who also wants to be engaged in their own learning experience and takes ownership of that as well. You need to seek the support if you need it. It's hard to to fall between the cracks here, but it can happen if you just don't seek the support. But there's lots of people, checking in, lots of people knowing, what students need while they're here, and that's important. And some of that by virtue of our size and our commitment to our students is supportive for us. Let's talk a little, finally, at the end, talk a little bit about our location, which is absolutely distinctive to the Skidmore experience. Our students really enjoy spending their 4 years or 3.5 years if you study abroad, of which about 50% of our students study abroad. Only we gave that stat tonight, but there it is. 100% of the students that are in front of you studied abroad, but 50% typically will spend a semester away. We make it very easy. You can learn a lot more about that experience too. But Saratoga Springs is unique. It's exciting. It's a thriving small city that is vibrant in the arts and creativity. It's most famous, and if you've started to investigate this, it's most you will read about horse racing and summer vacations and the Adirondack Mountains and famous water, Saratoga water, and those very iconic glass bottles that you'll now you see those once, you'll see them on movie sets, and you'll see them in restaurants around the world. We are that Saratoga. This is a great college town. It's a small city that has big city vibes. Over 1 million tourists will visit Saratoga Springs every summer, and in June, July, August. And all of those restaurants, all of those shops, art galleries, live music venues, they're open year round for our students. And so we have everything you need for 1 million people focused on a much smaller population in the school year. Addie, do you want to start and tell us some things you like about Saratoga Springs? And then Melanie chime in too.
Yeah. Um, I'll start I'll start small. So there's so many amazing restaurants and like farmers markets and things like that. So Uncommon Grounds is the local coffee shop that many people go to. That one's my favorite. There are other options though. They also have like bagel sandwiches and things like that. Um, and then we have a farmers market. I think there's two every week.
At
Um,
peak time, there are three.
three? Okay.
Yes, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday during the most busiest times of the year.
Yeah, but it is year round. They move
Mhm.
inside in the
Mhm.
like adjacent town mall.
Yep.
So you can go year round if you want to. And then there's also the second Sunday market, which is
Mhm.
like the farmers market, but for artsy and like
Mhm.
crafty things. They also usually have like a live musician. So I usually just go and listen to the music and I don't actually shop at all. I just sit in the park and listen to some lovely music. So there's some good ways that you can occupy a chill night on Saratoga restaurants and things like that that you can explore.
Yeah. Melanie, what do you like about your time in Saratoga? Are you still typing?
Yeah, I'm still typing, but I'm almost done, so I'll
There
send it
you
out when I'm done, I promise. I Saratoga, it's hard. So I
What
like a
did
lot
you
of things
miss
that
while you
Addie.
were away? We can frame it that
Well,
way too. You were
okay,
studying away.
that's
What
hard.
did you miss?
Mm, I, gosh, I like Spa State Park. That's like
Hmm.
2 miles up the road from
Hmm.
our campus,
Hmm.
and has really nice like walking paths. That's where you drink the spring water, which I still haven't done. Um, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe in the spring when it's a little warmer, I'll venture out there again and drink the water.
Hmm.
I mean, I take every fall I've gone to the Adirondack Hot Air Balloon Festival, which is
Hmm.
not in Saratoga, but it's like half an hour from
Hmm.
campus, and all of our students are allowed to have cars all 4 years
Hmm.
that you're here. So you'll know someone with a car and you can make it up there at 4 in the morning and watch the sunrise and see the balloons depart. But locally speaking, Congress Park is always nice with the ducks. I used Addie as a human shield, freshly into our friendship, and that bonded us for life. Put it very clearly, where we stood. It was a fun experience for Addie, maybe. Addie likes ducks. I'm just afraid of them. It's okay. They're really cute though. I like to people watch, and Saratoga is a really great place to do that. Uncommon Grounds does have a pretty solid bagel. I'm from Long Island. I'm a bagel snob, and it does the job. So I'll take it. I'm trying to think of, there's so many good restaurants. Eating your way through downtown is like really awesome. Chowder Fest is
Hmm.
quite the event for any person who likes food, because then you get to eat like a 4 ounce cup of chowder for
Hmm.
$2 a pop. So you can really try like 10 different restaurants if you're eager, for 20 bucks. So it's a
Hmm.
really affordable day to eat through Saratoga. So I've done that twice, and
Yeah.
it was freezing this year. It's like 12 degrees outside, felt like negative something. Um, but the other time that I went, it was 65
Right.
degrees outside. So, and
Yep.
February both times. So,
Yep. Yeah, they've
but yeah, I'll keep
counted as
typing.
many. This year, I think they estimate about 20,000 people attending, but that year when it was much warmer, almost 30,000 people come to this downtown event. The city does an incredible job of attracting tourists all year round and local having activities for those of us who live here and our students who are here. There are various festivals throughout the year. The Saratoga Performing Arts Center is also a famous music venue that puts us on the map and is an engine to the economy and to the tourism. It was originally built as the summer home to the New York City Ballet and the Philadelphia Orchestra. Both of those performance groups still perform and have a residency every summer here today. If you spend a summer in Saratoga doing collaborative research with faculty, perhaps, or an internship or a job on campus, you can enjoy all the splendor of the summer in Saratoga with the horse racing, the music festivals. But the music concerts have spilled over into September, and so many of our students who have been away and come back in August, and the first 2 weeks of Willie Nelson and Friends performed recently. Pitbull was here last year in September. The Jonas Brothers were here one September. Kind of since COVID, the concert season has expanded because there's so many concerts they want to fit into their calendar, and the weather's beautiful in the fall. This is also a large enough small city to have internships and jobs and opportunities for our students. Very large hospital system, keeping us safe and healthy, but also opportunities for students to do internships. There's a large school district is here as well as kind of around the surrounding areas, and one of the largest microchip manufacturing companies in the world, Global Foundries, has its world headquarters in Malta, New York, which is just south of Saratoga by about 5, 10 miles. The next community south of here. And we have graduates who get jobs with that company. We don't graduate electrical engineers, though you could participate in one of our 3-2 partnership programs with engineering and graduate with an electrical engineering degree and a Skidmore degree. But our business majors have been hired by a company like that. And then they now, some of them work locally, but they have plants in Dresden, Germany, and Singapore, and Taiwan, and Austin, Texas, and Silicon Valley. But they have their world headquarters right here. So it's a thriving community. It's a fun community, has great food. Students love it. Surrounded by nature, the Adirondack State Park and all this area. Those juniors in the audience that are studying U.S. history right now, the Battle of Saratoga, 1777, General Philip Schuyler defeated the British. We are that Saratoga too, about 10 miles from campus. And General Schuyler, father of the Schuyler sisters, quite famous. And that was right here. The native communities have lived in this area for many, many, many years and introduced the Europeans to the spring water here. So very famous, some really exciting history in this area for anyone to enjoy as well. So that's great. That was a lot. That was some great information. We thank everyone. We value your time too, and we thank you for joining us for this session. You're welcome to continue learning more about Skidmore, participating in other virtual programs. We have some that are theme-based. We have some that feature alumni, some that feature are just our students, where we say, "Ask me anything," and you get to just come on live and ask our students any questions you have. Come visit campus if you can, and see Saratoga Springs and see Skidmore. We will keep in touch with you about visit opportunities, both in person and virtual programs. Our staff will be traveling around the United States and around the world this spring to meet students. So keep an eye out for programs at your school where we might be. But we thank you for joining us. And Melanie, Addie, thank you for putting your email addresses in there. It's thank you, and certainly reach out if you have questions. Our admissions office is happy to answer questions that anybody has going through these months ahead before you apply. But thank you very much. And Addie, Melanie, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your spring break, and we'll see you on campus next week, hopefully. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye bye. And I think you end it, Melanie. You own it.